Welcome back to the Belt Off Podcast. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Ecological dynamics in Jiu Jitsu is making the waves where you teach systems and progression rather than techniques. I know that you've implemented it into your kids' class. I also have. And giving the kids or the grown-ups a goal to get to with as minimal information as possible. So you might set them up where, okay, we're just going for guard pulls, or you might put them in an arm bar, arms are locked, and they got to try to finish the arm bar, they got to try to get out of the arm bar, and you might say, okay, you want to roll up, and you want to try to extend and control the head down, and go. And then give them a bunch of opportunities to go, or like you've been doing with spider guard, right? Mm-hmm. Setting them up with their grips, and go. See what you can do with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And we called it what? Say that word again.
Ecological dynamics.
Ecological dynamics.
Is the trending word for that type of training.
So I just call it not over teaching.
Yes.
That's what I call it. And that's the only reason why I started to do it was because I have a tendency to over teach. Yeah. I'll take a move, and because there are technically quite a few details that you could focus on, I will. Right, and I don't like it when I do it. I never feel like I get the best results from my students. I feel like that type of teaching isn't bad. Like, in fact, some people love it, but if you don't love it, I feel like it doesn't work at all. Right, and I feel like if you do love it, it works, but if you don't, it's not even close. And if you just, and it's not even dumbing it down. It's not like you're dumbing a move down. You're just not focusing on all of the necessary details. You're just saying, hey, here's the idea, there's your goal, go. And yeah, I mean, I only do it because I don't want to overteach.
No, and for the kids class, I found it being way more enjoyable for me. Because it's less frustrating. Good. If I tell the kids, okay, I want you to get these grips and I want you to pull guard. And then we do that for a few minutes, and then it's okay, I want you to get these grips, pull guard, hip out, and I want you to put that leg over for an arm bar. And they're going to experiment of what works, what angles get there, what angles don't.
Right.
And it's such an easier way to do it. And you see kids in competitions doing these crazy moves, and I'm always thinking, how did the coach teach them that? Right. And I think it's a system like this.
And by crazy, you just mean grown-up advanced moves.
Grown-up advanced moves.
Daily Hiva Barambolos, random,
or like belly down arm bars through the transition, turning belly down through into the roll, into the arm bar, again from the top, right? So these positions that have a bunch of transitions, whether it be set up with a Kimura and they're just following it, but they don't lose the grip, they don't lose the position per se.
Yeah.
They're following and they're scrambling, or the arm gets locked out and they're bringing that left leg over the head. Things that you grown-ups don't even do. Like the adults class struggle with getting, and they're just flowing with these moves.
Right, and you saw that in competition. You came to the conclusion that they're not teaching them that move, right?
And the reason for that is I'm thinking in my brain, how can I teach step by step how to get this done?
And you can't really.
I don't think it's possible, and I think the ecological dynamics of, okay, when we get here, I want you to follow this arm. Wherever they go, I want you to hold on to that arm.
Right.
And then once they're doing that, you can start making little adjustments to what they're doing in order to secure it.
Because if they're doing, there's a great chance, right, that you'll give them the idea, you'll say, try this, and they'll do something terribly wrong.
Yeah.
Like terribly wrong, right? And then you address that one wrong thing. Yeah. You don't necessarily expect, show them all of the steps to do it, quote, right. You don't show them that. You let them go, and as it pops up, that was wrong, don't do that, turn the other way. Yeah. Don't turn away, turn towards, or whatever, right? You take each thing as it comes up, and you address it as it comes up, rather than trying to, show them step 1 through 7.
Yeah. They're never going to remember all those steps.
They're not.
Yeah.
No.
And so them just flowing with certain moves, I think it just opens their brain. And kids are so accepting to body movement that isn't rigid. But kids' classes.
Yeah, man. Not over teaching them.
Yeah. All right. I don't know where we left.
Yeah. So honestly, though, I never haven't tried this a lot. Like I have always been a step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and drill it and drill it and drill it, and I hated that. I've never liked it.
Yeah.
I've always been. In fact, the kids' classes will know that one of the running jokes in the class is that Coach Michael's in a great mood when we start class. Then he's not in a good mood during drilling. Then he's in a great mood when we're sparring. Right? And I'll tell him, I'll be like, uh-oh, I feel it coming on, guys. I'm getting annoyed by this drilling. And again, that's not them, that's me.
Yeah.
That's me not teaching it the best way. Right?
I think 80% of the kids' class that I've been doing for the last few weeks is mostly like games and challenges.
Right.
And then minor adjustments on grips and things. And Jack here, you're going to be on the screen, actually led our kickboxing warm-up the other day. Not because I've been teaching him step by step. You want to
All
eat?
ages.
Okay. But
All
because
ages.
he's been watching the kids' class for so long, and he'll
Right.
hop in for the jumping jacks, or then he'll hop
Right.
in for the squats, and then 2 days ago, he led the whole thing. He counted all the numbers to 10, so 10 jumping jacks, and he's counting the 10 and stuff. So it's cool, just that being in the room and allowing them to learn and play.
You know, it's an interesting one, though, if you were to look at the things that you can do that, because I'm asking myself, is it possible to do that, whatever that word is, I call
Ecological
it,
dynamics.
not over teaching. Is it possible to do that with everything?
Yeah.
And I feel like, I'm teaching a kid a shrimp,
Yeah.
right? I have a structure that I teach shrimps. I've taught 1,000 shrimps, right? More than that, to kids in my life. And it used to be hard to do for me. I used to have a hard time teaching a new kid a shrimp. And then I developed a way. And it's not ecological, whatever. It is actually step by step, the way that I've found. But I've found that I know the right words to say. I know the right, the right demeanor to have with them, and it just makes it work because all that stuff matters. But it is like plant your foot there, face that way, push your butt out, don't let your shoulder move. It is step by step. So I really wonder if that way of teaching is something that could be blanketly applied.
So I
Right.
actually teach the shrimp or the hip escape through the ecological dynamic, and I have for a long time. I just didn't know that
didn't
was
realize
the
you
word
were?
for it.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll show it and everything and give them the key points. But if they're still struggling, what I'll do is I'll stand put my feet next to their hips. I'll have them put 2 hands on my shin,
Right.
and I'll have them push their butt behind my other foot. And they'll do that, and then I'll be like, okay, now keep your toes on the ground, because sometimes the feet skip out.
Right.
It's like, okay, keep your toes down, hands on my shins, and butt slides behind my other leg. And it gets them into the motion, and then they start doing it by themselves, and then they pick up the rest of the movement.
And that's considered ecological.
Because I'm not teaching them how to do it, I'm giving them a goal to get to. So I'm only telling them to...
I'm confused now because I would have considered that step by step. I would have considered that you saying, put your hand there, push your butt out, like step by step, rather than saying, because I feel like if you were to not step by step a shrimp, you would explain to them the goal, which is escaping our hips, or if you said it in a kid's classy way, pushing your butt out, right? And then when they did it, it would be, how it would look, it'd be like terrible, right? So then you'd have to,
So I think the step-by-step would be, okay, hands here, put your foot down, rock onto your shoulder, hips out, reach for your feet. That would be like the step-by-step full version.
Versus saying, put your hand on my shin.
And scoot out.
And scoot out.
Yeah.
You said a little bit more than that.
I did. But
yeah,
basic.
it was. But it's minimum. Basically, less is more.
Less is
right.
more.
Less. So I'm okay. So
and then just
I
have
think
them try it 5, 6, 7 times, and then be like, okay, great. Now plant those toes.
I think what we're doing here is we're taking stuff and we're blending it all into the ecological dynamic thing, whatever it's called. Because I think that there's different things. I think there's the idea of just saying, look, grab here, and try to get them to fall over. Yeah. There's that, and then there's, not over teaching a step-by-step technique, which is kind of what we're talking about.
And there's definitely a spectrum.
And there's a spectrum.
You can be
right,
like
100%.
full, okay, you guys are standing up, get them to the ground. I'm not going to teach
That's
you.
about as far to the ecological dynamic side as it can get,
Yep.
right?
And then the step-by-step would be, okay, hand here, foot
Yeah, step
here,
there,
sit,
twist,
turn.
bone,
Yeah.
turn, look, check your wristwatch every time, like it's
exactly.
judo class, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the opposite. So there's two far ends of the spectrum. And I feel like there's certain techniques that just make sense to go all the way over with it.
Yeah.
Right? Like for example, the spider guard we're working this week, I'm just telling them, put your feet, I'm telling them right where to keep their feet, right where to keep their grips, and their goal.
Yeah.
And their goal. Their goal is to sweep. And I use cute terms like turn the steering wheel, you know, make them step up and then, tabletop. Like I'll give them little goals, little tips, but I will not give them anything more. I feel like that fits for the ecological dynamic. But if it was, like we're talking about shrimps, I think I'd have to go a little bit more towards just not over teaching a step-by-step process, because you can't avoid it. You got to be able to, adjust as a teacher.
Yeah. And everything's an ongoing process, and depending on the kids who are in the class even, what you have to say and what you can just let them figure out. There's certain kids that just move in an amazing way.
Right.
And those kids, you can give them very little information.
Right.
You show them once and bang, they're doing it. And other kids, you got to spend that whole class kind of working through step by step in order to get just the things to click. So everyone learns differently, that goes through everything, school, across the board. But I'm definitely enjoying teaching the kids' classes a little bit more, and I think they're learning quicker, blending the two.
Less is more, man.
Yeah.
And I'm applying it to my grown-ups classes. I apply it to everything. The only time that I don't use less is more is those rare occasions when it's necessary to bust out some serious details, man. When you got advanced guys troubleshooting a sweep in the corner, you're going super detailed, right? But in general, if you can do it less, do it less. It's almost like talking. Sometimes I'll use 10 words to say something that I could have used 2 or 3. Less is more in general.
Something that pops up in my brain is teaching like a rolling bow and arrow choke from the back.
Mm-hmm.
It immediately I think, okay, this needs to be step by step.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've been seeing is, okay, I'm going to set you up with the cross grip, and I'm going to set you up with the pant grip, with the leg in between. And this might get a little technical. I'm sorry, guys, and then okay, everything's set. I want you to roll and extend, and I want you to try to base and not let that happen. So that could be on the system, but there's certain moves that I go back and forth. It's like, okay, no, this one needs to be step by step, or no, this one goes great into the ecological.
Well, I really do think that if you just view it as just not over teaching, and then just teach, right? You'll end up using ecological dynamics for a lot of moves, and you'll end up just not over teaching some other moves. And I think that's the perfect balance, because to me that's the annoying thing to me is when people say more than they need to. That's annoying to me. All right, like maybe it's my own personal pet peeve, but I just think it wastes time. Time is valuable in a class, right? I mean, it's just not necessary, right? You can always do the bare minimum as far as what you say and what you show, and then add it later, because we know while they're drilling, while they're sparring or whatever, we're watching the glaring mistakes pop up, and then you can say, okay, that's the third person I've seen do that. Everybody pause. Okay, and then you tell them.
You can run into issues with when you're teaching somebody, and maybe it's a beginner's class, and the other person doesn't know the proper defense for something, and they are like a rag doll, or the move's not working. If it's actually easier to do in sparring than it is to drill on certain ones.
The move needs resistance
exactly.
to work.
And so by turning that into a game, it's like, okay, I want you to go there, and I want you to do this.
Works.
And then boom, everything's working. So if we would have stepped with the step by step, it wouldn't have actually developed into anything. You would have learned like the grip, but you would have never got the reps through and like felt that. And because so much of jiu-jitsu is feeling.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That sensitivity of
Exactly.
knowing when to go, when not to.
In all reality, it's all feeling.
Yeah,
It's 100% feeling. You could want to do a scissor sweep to somebody, but if they just don't give you that, you're going to look foolish trying a scissor sweep, right? You just take what they give you, you feel what they give you.
And that's another thing that happens, right? It's like, oh, why isn't this move working that coach just told me to put this, and then pull it.
Yeah,
It's not working. Oh,
right.
your partner's sitting completely on their heels.
Right.
Well, if they were doing that, I'm going hip bump instead of
Right.
the
I'm
scissor
not
sweep.
doing
Like,
that
what am I?
I'm taking what they give me,
Yeah.
right?
So there's a flow aspect that goes to it. With the ecological dynamics, I hope I'm saying all that right. You also get a whole lot more movement. So if you're just doing step by step, like one person is training at a time, basically.
Exactly.
If you're doing the system, then both people, one person's working defense or a pass or offense, and the other one's working. And so you get more movement from both people. Both people are sweating more, so they're increasing their fitness and their reactions and that sensitivity during the whole process. I dislike when one person is doing the drill and the other person is just compliant, because half the class is gone. If you're only doing reps half the time and you're not doing anything from the dummy perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you get
class.
You get the situation with two partners that don't. One guy knows it really well.
Yeah.
So when he goes, he takes 15 seconds to do his moves.
Yep.
Then the other person takes 4.5 minutes to do 3 reps.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's like, time it up. Let's go. Let's
Yeah.
It's like, man. Yeah. Drilling is my least favorite. I understand why there's the most like controversy about it, with some people saying flat out throw it away, don't ever drill, just spar. I kind of get it. I get it, but I'm just one of those guys. I'm kind of in the middle. I really do feel like there are certain moves that you need to just show your muscle memory how to do, and I see it in my kids' classes a lot where, I'll have a kid who's, distracted, right, talking about something Pokemon, right, and he's telling me about it while he does the move perfectly. And I'm watching him do this move perfectly while he's telling me about something that happened earlier today. And he nails the move, and I'm like, okay, that's muscle memory.
Yeah.
He was not even thinking about the move, but he did the move perfectly. Yeah, that's important to develop that muscle memory. And what's the best way to develop it? Repetition, which is an argument for drilling.
Yeah.
So
that goes into that question we asked about what do you sing in somebody's ear when you're getting ready to choke them. What that tells me is like they are so confident in this position that they already know it's over before it's over. Right. It's like they've been here so many times, that they've done this so many times that it's, I get to play now. I've reached the position where I got this. This is groovy at this point.
And once you're whispering and saying those things like as you shake hands to go, you're confident.
Dylan,
you're like, I'm already winning.
Dylan's not here today, but he's said that because sometimes I just sing. I did appliance repair for 13 years, and I was in a truck by myself for like 3-4 hours a day. So I sang to like everything, so I know the lyrics to a lot of things. And he's like, the scariest times are when you like just start singing before we roll. It's like it's because it's a confidence and just we're here to have fun and just play. But yeah, he's like, those are the scariest moments when you're just super relaxed, and I'm like,
Yeah, man.
Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.